The stat I keep seeing is 96% of people that visit your website aren't ready to buy. So if they're not ready to buy, how do we capture their details and market to them in an appropriate manner so that when we bring them back, they are ready to buy? And then the website is in the best possible place to just say, well, here's the product you're looking for. I think that's what a lot of salespeople get wrong. They don't ask the questions, they just pitch. But when you start to ask the questions, what are you struggling with at the moment? What do you need help with? These people give you their answers, and then you're able to present yourself as the solution to that problem, which they've identified and they told you you've got.
This podcast is brought to you by Bambassadors.com, the go-to platform for e-commerce brands to create video reviews that boost social proof and sales on TikTok and beyond. Get your first video review created and posted by a genuine creator, completely free, no strings attached, and no credit card required at Bambassadors.com.
Welcome to the EcomXFactor podcast, where it's all about launching and scaling your business using sales funnels, automations, and smart marketing. And now, please welcome your host, the founder of EcomXFactor, Yaron Bin.
Hi, Will. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Normally, before I start the conversation, so I do a bit of a research about the guest. Most of the time, I'm very excited about the conversation. And this time as well, I looked into your website and I saw the lead magnets that you're offering, which is great, very detailed, and a lot of like wireframes that can really example and elaborate about CRO and stuff like that. So I'm sure it's going to be a blast. So can you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. So I've been marketing about 11 years now. Started off in a few different startups, various kind of marketing roles. Actually started in sales, which I think is really important. I think it's something that everyone should do, even if it's literally 6 months. But yeah, got myself into marketing, moved up through a few different companies, and I kept finding the same problems occurring, which was generally the marketing team was told, here's your budget, go away and acquire customers. And growth, it was entirely a marketing KPI. Marketing had ownership of that. However, in all the startups I was at, the product was never really that good enough. It was good, people liked it, but there was so much more that could be done with it. But we would acquire people through Facebook ads, PPC, whatever, get them into a free trial or get them to create an account, and then use email to try and nurture people, push them over the line. However, obviously the issue with email is when people first sign up, on those first few emails, you might get an open rate of 50, 60%, which would be very good. So you've already lost 40 to 50% of people. And then as that tails off, once you get through the welcome flow, once you get into campaigns and whatever, you're probably looking at more like 20, 25% open rates. So you've acquired all those customers and now you're not really engaging with them. So I started working more with the product teams and the development teams to improve the product themselves, to just naturally get people through the flow. When people open the app or go to the website, email should be the last resort to get them back, because they should be doing it because they're on the website, and the website or the app should just be naturally funneling these people through the process. So I moved into a head of conversion role for a big gaming company here. They run a bunch of casino websites. Did that for about 2 years until November 19, and then decided to go out on my own. And so now I work with e-commerce websites on improving conversion rates and marketing automation, because they are, despite what I've said, they are very well closely linked. I think the stat I keep seeing is 96% of people that visit your website aren't ready to buy. So if they're not ready to buy, how do we capture their details and market to them in an appropriate manner so that when we bring them back, they are ready to buy? And then the website is in the best possible place to just say, well, here's the product you're looking for. Here's the payment option you want. Here's all the information you need about the company to go ahead and make the purchase.
Before we move on and speak about your best practices and you share your tactics and all the case studies, I want to focus a bit about your background. And I love the fact that you also have a sales background. And I would like you to elaborate about why you find it important, because I also agree. I think it's very important if you can do some sales and interact with customers. And the other thing that I want you to talk about maybe is what you've learned from the casino industry.
I suppose it deals with some of that anxiety, and it gives you a bit of confidence, right? When you you start to speak to these people, you start to understand their problems. And I think essentially it's good for if you want to be a marketer, right? It tells you how to speak to people. You learn how to speak to people, how to identify their wants and needs so that you can present to them better. Right. So, you get on the phone with a company. Obviously, I was cold calling at the time. So some of it was, let me just give you, if you can just give me 5 minutes or 2 minutes, this is what we do. What are you struggling with at the moment? And then they'll start to open it up a bit. When you ask questions, I think that's what a lot of salespeople get wrong. They don't ask the questions, they just pitch. But when you start to ask the questions, what are you struggling with at the moment? What do you need help with? These people give you their answers, and then you're able to present yourself as the solution to that problem, which they've identified and they told you you've got. So in that same sense, you can apply that to kind of marketing and conversion rate optimization. You do your customer research, you speak to customers, you find out what their problems are, and then you go and fix them on the website. So I think just kind of learning how to have conversations with people I've never spoken to before, and to do it in a way which people don't really like being sold to. I think that's not quite right. I think people do like being sold to, but I think they like to be sold to properly. Right? It's frustrating when a bad salesman contacts you, but it's actually quite good when someone who really knows their stuff and really wants to help you knows it. So you're just kind of applying the same stuff online, right? People don't want a pushy sales process on the website. They just want it to be super easy. They want this product to explain why it's so good for them, why it's going to be beneficial to them, and they want a website that's easy to use. And you discover that through that customer research.
I think that
answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. I think people want to buy, but they don't want to be sold. Probably.
Yeah, I suppose it's just the terminology and the way people think about it, right? I think people do want to be sold to, but when everyone says people don't want to be sold to, I think it's people don't want to be pushed into making a purchase. Right? They don't want those emails saying, "Why haven't you made a purchase yet? Come on, get on with it," and all that sort of stuff. They want the helpful content, right? The content which is selling to them because it's positioning that product correctly, but it's selling it to them in a way which they actually enjoy because they're reading about this product or whatever. They're understanding the value of it. They see the benefits of it, and now they want to buy it.
Great. Yeah. Basically, in a way, sales is like marketing, or a sales letter is kind of like instead of doing one-on-one cold calling, it's kind of like one-to-N. In a way, you have to handle the objections of the customer. You have to understand their needs, and you kind of have to persuade them and guide them towards why your solution is better than the other solutions, or better than what they are doing at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you say, it's one to many. Yeah. But also you can still split that out into multiple groups of one to many. Yeah. Right? So you don't have to work out what that one message is that is either going to resonate with everyone or just resonates the best with the most people. You can split it out, and you can make sure that you're sending different audiences to different landing pages that has slightly tailored messaging so that someone understands why this product is going to be beneficial to them.
It's not only that you actually should segment your customers and market based on each like age group or demographics or even behaviors, to be honest. And I know this is something that is done a lot in the casinos, and this refers us back to the other question that I asked, because I have many friends that used to work in social gaming and also in casinos. And the interesting thing about this industry is that they have a lot of data, they have a lot of money, and they have a lot of users. So you can gain a lot of knowledge and insights. This is why I ask you the question, what you've learned over there, and what are like your biggest takeaways from the casino, and what you've done to e-commerce.
Yeah, so one thing I just want to mention on the segmentation, just quickly, it's surprising this doesn't come up more often, actually. Companies spend so much time trying to optimize their ads accounts, right? For different audiences, different demographics, different messaging. But then when they get the attention of that person, the vast majority of brands just push everyone into a generic funnel, right? They all send you to the same landing page or the same product page. You get the same emails, and there's no attempt, after the advert, there's almost no attempt to actually continue with that segmentation, that personalization flow. So I think, and that makes a huge difference to conversion. So some of this data you have to capture. right? So you capture it in an email pop-up. You're asking people what they're looking for today, or what sort of category of product they're looking for, and you can use that in your email segmentation. But yeah, it just surprises me how few companies actually bother to work on that personalization.
I agree. And I'd like to dive deeper into how exactly do you suggest doing personalization, but I just want to share that like a week ago, I heard a lecture by Dan Kennedy. He's a famous marketer, and he said that many customers come to him and they ask for the one specific ad that will change everything. And he's often surprised, like you, by the fact that people don't want to create complex solutions and personalized solutions because they want to simplify. And this is why they create one funnel or one ad, which isn't actually the right way to do it, but they want to simplify, and they are basically hindering their own results by simplifying or oversimplifying.
Yeah, exactly. People get a bit lazy.
Exactly.
They just put one thing in place. Anyway, back to the casinos.
Uh-huh.
I think one of the big things is there was a massive focus on lifetime value at the casinos, and also projected lifetime value. So they had algorithms in place which would work out what sort of roughly what sort of value you would be as a player from your first 7 days of interaction with the website. So someone who clicks on an ad, signs up, deposits, plays enough to claim their welcome bonus, plays the welcome bonus, plays a bit more cash, deposits again, that person's going to be significantly more valuable than someone who creates an account, disappears, comes back through an email 2 weeks later, and then deposits, and then maybe plays the minimum requirement to get the promotion, plays the promotion, and then kind of does nothing for a bit. That person's obviously going to be low value because you can see that this person's only really bothered to play for the bonus. So this really massive focus, and even fed into advertising, right? So the acquisition teams were targeted on a cost of acquisition to projected lifetime value ratio, which they wanted to keep at roughly 30%, 25-30%, because that would ensure that we're bringing in profitable players. And it also allowed for a lot of targeting going forwards. You could obviously build audiences based off the VIP groups and all the different groups you've got. So that was one thing. Yeah, massive focus on lifetime value. What else? I want to say marketing automation was key, but it wasn't great there. At the company I was at, the systems were a bit, I guess, like legacy, quite dated. So it was difficult to run quite complex welcome flows. It was all because it was kind of powered. When we did an A/B split in the welcome flow, for example, it was actually powered and split before it reached the CRM tool.
Okay.
Which just meant that other teams had to get involved in the data. So that was a bit problematic. But one thing that worked really well for these companies was they had a retention mechanism called the daily free game. Right, so you could come onto the website every single day. I think as long as you'd played £1 or maybe £5 within the last week or something like that. So you just had to spend a little bit of money on an ongoing basis to get access to the free game. And the free game would give you some free spins or something on a slot machine. People would play those free spins, win a little bit, play a bit more, deposit some cash, play a bit more. It keeps people coming back to the site, and it keeps people engaging with the product. In a way that the daily free game gives away stuff. Yeah. Right. It doesn't earn any money itself. It's only a cost. But they obviously knew that the cost that they were giving away, the value that we're giving away from this was nothing compared to the money that these people would spend on the website afterwards. And I think that kind of relates to a lot of the marketing automation and content marketing that brands should be doing, and saying, well, we don't have to try and bring in revenue from every little activity we're doing. We just have to engage customers. We have to just bring them back to the site, right? Just bring them back to the site. They can have a look at something, or they can read a blog. Maybe don't even bring them back to the site. Maybe put it all in the article. this is actually a really bad example because I haven't really done anything with it, but I bought this journal the other day on a recommendation. And it looks like quite a complex journal. There's a few different activities and things to do every day. And they actually sent through a manual on how to do it via email.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it doesn't take you back to the website. They're not trying to get another sale with this, but it's just it's a PDF document. It's about 30 pages long. Mm-hmm. It's quite big text. So it's not, it's not a 30-page butch. Yeah. But it's just an example of they're just providing value, right? The email they sent me and this document are not going to get me back to the website, but it's going to get me engaged. They know that if I read this manual and I apply this manual to the actual journal, I'm much more likely to have success with the journal. And therefore I'm much more likely to either buy another one or buy their check-in like notepad, which is literally just the daily exercises. And actually that reminds me of an episode I had on my podcast quite recently with a company called AirUp, which is a scent-based drinking product, right? So, which is quite a new thing, right? It's difficult to explain. People don't really get it. And they put so much focus on the first sip, right? If they can get you to have the perfect first sip, they know that you are going to be more likely to then buy more of their capsules. You're going to enjoy the product. You're going to tell people about it. And their word of mouth is fantastic. I think the guy told me their acquisition is 40% word of mouth.
Wow.
At the moment.
That's amazing.
And they're a decent sized company. But the point I'm trying to make is they do this. Other companies do it. So another example, actually, a company called Snug Sofa in the UK. They basically a sofa in a box, right? So they're able to ship sofas really quickly. You can get it within about a week, I think, maybe slightly less, compared to the traditional buying a sofa experience, which is 6 weeks at best, if you're lucky, but normally 8 to 12. They send through a sample box, right? You can order a free sample box, doesn't cost you anything. You get a few different samples of the materials and the colors, and then they chuck in a few treats and things. There was a chocolate bar in there. There was a little booklet which kind of explained a few things. And again, they know that by doing that, people who order sample boxes are significantly more likely to convert than people who don't. So again, it's this give stuff away for free. That just, you find these actions and these things people want to do and need to do in order to see kind of the benefit of your product. And if you do that, they'll convert. Another example, it's a company in the US called Claire, who I interviewed them last week for the podcast. So that's at the time we're recording this, it's not out. It's a paint company, right? So if you want to paint the rooms in your house, they sell the paint for it. Their paint is very different. It's that smell you get from paints when you've painted. So their paint doesn't have that because they've not put certain ingredients into it. I don't know. I don't know the makeup of paint. But anyway, their free samples are really designed so that not only they're easy to use, right? So you don't have to buy a small amount of paint and paint it on the wall to see what it looks like. It's like a sticker thing. So you're able to stick it on the wall.
Nice. You
see what it looks like. And they say that these samples are exactly the same color that you're going to get in the paint. Whereas if you order a sample booklet from a paint company, you get like a printed book with just all the colors in there. Those don't actually match, or they tend not to match the actual paint, not exactly. Whereas their samples do. So they really push those, and they say, look, you can order our samples. I think they might actually charge for them. I think they charge a small amount for them, but they know that people who buy these samples and use them are significantly more likely to buy the paint. So it's all about, trying to find those moments. And for some D2C businesses, it's difficult, right? What is that free product going to be, or that sample or whatever? But it can just come in so many forms. And if you kind of build things out right, you'll do it well. And one way is once you've got the purchase, put something in with the purchase to help people. One thing I've been testing with a client, which I think I think this came out of a podcast episode, of one of my podcast episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if it was my podcast episode or an episode I did on someone else's podcast, but this idea came up to put printed QR codes in the packaging with a product.
Yeah.
And that QR code would link to a page which explains, it basically said, thank you. There might be a video on the page thanking people for their purchase from the founder or whoever. And it can contain some articles, how do you use the product? How do you maintain it? Whatever. My client got a 5-star review the other day on Trustpilot, which specifically called out the QR code and said it was fantastic. It was really useful for setting up the product, and they really loved it. So for me, that was great because that was kind of validating my idea. Someone's genuinely finding this useful and helpful. And also it's just something that it probably costs my client 10 pence. Yeah. Maybe something like that, 10 pence per postcard that they have to send out. So it's nothing really. Yeah. And it's obviously keeping people happy. And again, it's probably one of these things where those people who need the help, need that little bit of help to set up the product. If they scan that QR code, go to the website and find that information, they're happy. Right? It removes any concerns they might have about what they're doing. They just get it sorted.
Cool. That's amazing. I also do the QR codes with my own brand. And I also started adding I sell mainly to women. So we started adding a sticker with affirmations, which they can put on their mirror. And then they can look at it every day and also say the affirmation. And obviously we have the brand logo on the sticker, which keeps us top of mind. And I got this idea also from a guy I had on my podcast, and he's big on delivering happiness and enhancing the experience of your customers. So he said that he had a brand. I don't remember if it was his brand, but they used to add like flower seeds into the parcel. And then people got the parcel, whatever it wasn't necessarily related to flowers, and they would plant these seeds, and the flower would grow, and then they would tag this brand with the picture of the flower. And this is kind of a word of mouth marketing method, which I really liked. When we're speaking here about adding stuff to, we're talking about we can look at it from different perspectives. So one is offering like guidance, like the QR code was educating the customers. The other one is over delivering, like the plant seed, for example. And there's also something that you talked about a lot is reducing anxiety with regards to the product function and the benefits. And I know you're big about talking about reducing on anxiety and also motivating the customer and improving your usability. So can you talk a bit more about this framework which you use which consists of usability, anxiety, and motivations? Quick favor, guys. If you enjoy these shows and have been a listener for quite some time now, we would really, really appreciate it if you could take the time to give us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your preferred podcast app may be. Having lots of ratings and audience feedback makes our show become more visible across multiple platforms. And it also supports our mission of helping as many people as possible to become better marketers and better entrepreneurs. So if you're not driving and it wouldn't be dangerous, pause this thing right now and give us an honest review over your podcast app. And we will love you even more than we already do. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Customers are always asking two questions, right? Is this the right product for me? And then, is this the right business to buy that product from? Because obviously, vast majority of cases, there is a competitor out there. Right? There is someone else you can buy a similar product from, or in a retailer's case, exactly the same product. Right? So you need to focus on answering those two questions. And the way you do that is by looking at usability, anxiety, and motivation. So usability is at a very basic level. Does your website work? Right? Which, might sound like a weird one to have to think about. But what I find is, and I'm guilty, I know I'm guilty of it as well. Everyone checks their website on the same browser on the same machine every time they check it, or maybe two devices. You might check it on your laptop or your desktop, and you might check it on your phone. But people very rarely, and most of the time, because they don't have the devices themselves, They don't check it on, I've got an iPhone, so I can't check it on an Android.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I use Chrome. I never check it on Microsoft Edge.
Uh-huh.
Right. And these are things that I should be doing, because if you look in the analytics, you will see that the conversion rate on these websites is different.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's very, very different.
Yeah.
I had a client whose website converted at 20% on Edge. On Microsoft Edge, which was insane, given that Chrome and Safari on desktop, to be actually comparable, they converted about 5-6%.
You remember why?
In this case, actually, it's mainly because the audience is different, right? The audience is older on Microsoft Edge.
For sure.
The product resonated with them better. But you still need to look at these things. Yeah. And another thing I noticed is that, Safari in-app and Android, what's the browser called? I can't remember, but basically it's the browser that you use when you click on a link within an app like Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So there are two kind of issues. Firstly, and this is why it's really, really important to think through data and analyze it before you just come to conclusions. Because one conclusion I can make is people who use Safari in-app, Safari in-app is a worse app because it converts worse than Safari normal. So Safari in-app must be broken. Yeah. But actually, you think about it and you realize that the Safari in-app converts worse because the majority of the traffic there is from Facebook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And generally, Facebook ads convert worse because you're putting the ads in front of people. They're not looking for your product. Mm-hmm. However, there is also the fact that Safari in-app is a slightly different experience. Yeah. The browser is slightly smaller because it's within an app, not its own app. So you need to think, well, how, is there a way we can get people from the in-app version to the actual browser version, or should we just focus on capturing emails?
Yeah.
Right. If we know the experience is worse here, should we be saying anyone who comes in via Safari in-app, we just really, really focus on trying to get their email address captured? But yeah, otherwise you might find issues, just going back to usability, you might find issues like your live chat icon normally in the bottom right corner of the page is actually sitting just on top of your add to cart button on this browser. Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that. So it really is just checking, doing a quick check. Does it look right? Does everything actually work? That's usability at a basic level. At a more advanced level, it's, can I find what I'm looking for? Yeah. Does the website allow me to browse, allow me to find the product, add the product to cart and buy it as quickly and easily as possible? And a lot of the time it's not just, it's not about having a burger menu and having all your categories in there. There's a lot more to it. You need to be thinking, how can we be different? How can we make sure if someone lands on this product because they've clicked on an advert for it and decide they don't like it, how do we get them to the best alternative product?
Yeah.
And you could be looking at, people who view this product, then go and buy this product.
Yeah.
So you could say, well, if they go to exit the page, you could have a pop-up appear saying, if you don't like this one, do you want to have a quick look at this product instead? You could make a comparison function more obvious. Mm-hmm. There's various things you can do, but the idea around usability is, if I have landed on your homepage or don't want the product that I've landed on, how does the website help me get to the right product and then help me buy it?
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So that's usability.
Cool. I just want to add, with regards to this, like a rule of thumb, which I suggest in order to do usability testing, if you don't have all the different mobiles, so at least take the smallest screen possible, the smallest mobile, and check its responsiveness. This gives you kind of a guideline. The smaller the screen is, so the more likelihood that the usability will be a bit screwed up. This is something important. And with regards to the customer flow, what you talked about right now, so I like using Google Analytics behavior flow and seeing where the customers landed and where they went. So for example, I saw that many customers, after they landed on the landing page, they went to the FAQ page. So in this case, I just added a FAQ snippet into my landing page because I don't want to deflect them from the sales funnel, actually. So using the behavior flow in Google Analytics is very, very useful.
Yeah, you can use behavior flow. You can look at heat maps and session recordings. in tools like Hotjar. Super useful. Heat maps, you can see where people are clicking. So if everyone is clicking the FAQ button at the top of your website, you know that you're not answering the questions that people have. So you need to be putting the answers to those questions on the page itself. And same with session recordings, right? You can see how many people click through to an FAQ, which questions they then go and actually review. I think you should always have a ask a question function. So if people get to the end of your FAQ and you haven't answered their question, at least allow people to ask the question there. And then when enough people do it, you can answer those questions on the page. A lot of people won't do it, but you will get some people who say, okay, I'm going to ask that question. Anxiety. So anxiety is the next one. And this is about the doubts and the questions and concerns a customer has about both you, your business, and your products, right? So is this product really going to solve this problem for me? Is this product going to fit me? That sort of thing, right? So not only having all that information clear on the page, but also things like reviews, right? Social proof. Do other people like this product? And do other people like this business? That's a big one. They have to be third-party reviews. You still see businesses that kind of copy-paste reviews onto their website and just leave them there. They don't work. People ignore them. You need to have something like Trustpilot, Akendo, Yotpo, Reviews.io in place. People can see that it's powered by a third party. They can click through to that third party website and have a look. And also that deals with issues when customers Google you, right? They'll Google your brand name reviews. If they do that and you haven't been actively collecting reviews, it's most likely your reviews, well, I say most likely, it's more likely that your reviews on those websites are going to be more negative than positive, because angry customers are more likely to leave a bad review than happy customers are to leave a positive one, right? So social proof is really important. Guarantees are important. Most of the time, this can just be a 30-day free returns policy, right? It doesn't have to be some weird, crazy guarantee that you've thought of for your business. It just needs to be a very standard 30 return the product within 30 days and we'll give you your money back. And it just makes people feel more secure. And I tested this with one client. They had a 14-day policy in, because that's actually the minimum requirement in the UK, possibly the EU. But really, the expectation now is 30 days. Most brands offer 30 days. So we increased it to 30 days with a test. That improved conversion rate, because people thought, okay, we'd have got longer to try out the product, make sure it's actually good. And it had no impact on returns.
Nice.
In fact, unrelated, because something else was happening at the time, but returns rate did actually go down. So they made some fixes to the product itself. There was a particular smell to do with the way it was packaged, which people didn't like. They fixed that. Return rate went down. So everything was fine with the 30-day policy. We tried 100 days and didn't really see much of an uplift on conversion there, which we were a little bit surprised about. But 30 days, people are happy.
Yeah, cool.
Obviously, your website needs to look good. It doesn't have to be the most stunning website possible. You don't need to hire the best designer in the world to make this the most beautiful looking website, but it just needs to look professional. It needs to look secure, and it needs to look like you've put some effort into it, and it's been professionally made. Customer service is really important for anxiety. And I don't mean in this case, I don't mean being able to speak to customer service and the experience you get there. I mean the visibility of customer service. Right. So if I can see that there is a live chat or a phone number or an email address to contact you on, it makes me a lot happier. Right. And people have their preferences as well. Right. So I will always use live chat because I find it convenient. Right. Ideally, I'd like it live chat via WhatsApp or something so that I can keep coming back to the conversation when I'm ready. But if it has to be live chat on a website, that's fine. If I have to email, I'm thinking, well, if I have a problem, I know that I'm going to be looking at 24-hour response times on a ticket. maybe. If it's phone number, I'm quite unlikely to engage with that.
Yeah.
But if there's no obvious method for contacting the business, that's a big red flag for customers.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of invalidates your guarantee a little bit, I think. Because if you have a 100-day guarantee, but people can't see how to contact you, then your 100-day guarantee is meaningless because people aren't going to buy it. Because they're thinking, well, if I buy this product and it's rubbish and I want to return it, how do I do that? Can't see how to do that, so I'm going to go. I think a lot of people undervalue the importance of the returns page for people who haven't purchased yet. Right? I noticed on a client's website, people who visited the returns page were more likely to convert than people who didn't, because they want to know. It's that anxiety piece, right? They want to know that if they have problems, are they able to send the product back, and get a refund? Some people still charge for it. I know there's obviously margins and things to take into account, but you're damaging your conversion if you're saying you've got to pay for it. Some people, I've seen some very strong language on returns pages as well, which baffles me.
Can you give an example?
Not exactly. I can't remember the exact wording, but almost stuff like it's your problem, not ours.
Oh wow!
This is how it comes.
This is how it comes across.
It comes across as we don't want to deal with returns.
Yeah.
If you buy it, you bought it. If you want to return it, it's at your cost. And if you as the customer make life difficult for us, we won't accept the return, and you'll have to pay for it and stuff like that. That's basically how it comes across on some of these websites. So, I know it's a cost thing, but just free returns, just send it back, you get your money back. Because also, if your product is good, then there's two potential reasons why someone is returning it. Either it's just not their thing, and it's just, they decided it's not, they just don't like the product, it's not for them, but it's still a good product. In which case, depending on your brand, there might not be anything you can do about it, or you might be able to sell them something else. And the other issue is, just didn't, well, I suppose it's the same issue really, just didn't like it. But I'm happy to buy something else. Right? I don't dislike the brand. Or sorry, that was the example I was going to use. It for stuff like clothing or shoes, it doesn't fit, right? I like the shoe, but unfortunately this doesn't fit. So I need to send it back and get a different size. I'm actually working with a shoe retailer, and I know what actually happens a lot of the time, particularly in Germany, for some reason. People will buy the same product twice in different sizes, and then they send back the one that doesn't fit.
That makes sense.
It just seems, it makes sense. I get it, but it just seems to be a big thing in Germany, not the other countries they sell in. But that's another example, right? And that's why if you offer returns, you don't want people doing that because it costs you, obviously, but there are tools and things you can use to try and mitigate that. But if it's just not right for someone, allow them to send it back. Make that really easy for them, because when they get it back and they've got that money back in the account, they'll buy something else. Or you can say to them, well, do you want a refund, or should we add credit? Should we add credit to your account and you can just buy a replacement, whatever. So just because someone's sending back a product doesn't mean they're saying, no, I'm done with this brand. Didn't like it, I'm going to go. Right? And then a final thing on anxiety I wanted to mention was, this is a bit of an offsite thing, but basically a strong and engaged social following. Right? It's just another little thing. If I don't really know your brand, and if it's maybe in a particular industry or selling something that I'm thinking, this seems a bit too good to be true or whatever, if I go to Instagram and see that you've got 10, 15, 50,000 followers, doesn't have to be a huge number, but if I can see people engaging with your posts, if I can see a verified profile, if I can see you've got a story, those are things that make me say, okay, it's a legit brand, they've got a presence there, they're working on that account. It's just another thing which makes you say, okay, this business is legit. So that's kind of anxiety. Basically, you're trying to answer the questions. What makes people feel safe about buying from a business? What questions are they asking about your products? Are you answering those questions? Is it clear how this product is going to benefit them? And do they believe that?
Yeah.
Right. So does it say, I used to work with a company that had like an orthodontic pillow. Orthodontic? That's not the right. Orthopedic. Orthopedic pillow. And it made claims about neck pain. Right. So you can read all the research on the page. You can read why they've designed it in a certain way, the different materials and things, and understand how this product's going to help you. But if you don't believe it, if you don't believe the claims that they're making, you're not going to buy. So that's when those reviews come in. You can say, okay, this is what it does. This is how it does it. And all these people are saying, yes, it helped. Right.
Nice. And with regards to anxieties, it's also something that has become very popular, I guess, in the last 2 years, and becoming more and more popular is all the buy now, pay later stuff, like Klarna, Afterpay. Have you split tested anything similar? I haven't split tested this yet, but I'm sure it's going to produce a lift in the conversions.
We did split test it a little bit. We did a test on it, and we did it with Klarna. And what we found was, we did 2 variants. So we had one which said, obviously we had the control, but variant 1 was the standard kind of Klarna buy now, pay later banner, just their standard thing. And then the other version, which was a version we created, was Klarna. This is for the pillow company. Klarna Sleep Now, Pay Later. So Sleep Now was obviously related to the product and the business and the benefit people want to get. What was interesting was that Sleep Now, Pay Later was better than the control by about, it wasn't much, about 3%, 3 or 4% improvement in conversion rates. But what was really interesting was that the buy now, pay later converted about 8% worse than the control.
How come?
Right. So
I wonder.
Don't know. Don't know why. It's difficult to. Yeah,
it's very hard
to understand that.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that Sleep Now, Pay Later worked, and this just highlights to me the fact that you can't just stick something on a website. Yeah. This is one of those things that a lot of people would say, oh, we don't need to test that, but Klarna improves conversion rates, blah blah blah. Stick it on the website. Right, but that messaging on the page didn't work. But Sleep Now, Pay Later did. So that works. I wouldn't be able to tell you stats around actual Klarna performance. I believe it was about 15% of transactions, and I don't recall there being any kind of increase in returns or anything like that because of it. So yeah, I mean, again, it's one of these things for this particular product. And the average order value that they had, and the fact that we had a 30-day guarantee anyway, maybe meant that people that Klarna buy now, pay later messaging didn't really have as big an impact because people didn't see it as a big concern. It wasn't very expensive, but as a pillow, the pillow, everyone said it was more expensive than they would normally spend on a pillow, but that 30 days guarantee and the fact that it's a orthopedic pillow means people were more bought into this pillow as a product than if we were just selling various pillows and trying to convince people. So yeah, there's a bit of mentality difference on the website, but yeah, I just wanted to point it out as an example of where, this isn't something you just stick on the website. Exactly. No matter what people tell you, you still test it.
There's actually nothing that you can just stick on the website and it will for sure increase the conversions. It's all about assumptions, and it's also very context dependent. I mean, what stage of the funnel? Who are your customers? Is your brand well known? It depends on so many different variables. So this is why you should basically test everything and don't assume anything regarding any changes that you do to your funnel.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, we covered the anxiety and usability, and the last thing in the framework is the motivations.
Yeah, so I'll try and get through this a bit quickly. Motivation, basically, does your website excite me? Does it encourage me? Do I feel positive about making this purchase? But also potentially, do I feel like I've been making a mistake if I don't make this purchase? Right. So that's all about, is the copy there? Is the imagery there? That's making me think this is going to be amazing. I have to have this. And by not having it, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be stuck at in the same spot. Really, I want to buy this because it's going to be an upgrade on my life. That's essentially what motivation is, and that it looks like it's a few different things, right? One is scarcity, which I'm becoming a bit less of a fan of because it gets faked a lot now. With only one left, or X number of people are looking at this page right now, that sort of thing. I question some of the value in that, and I think we did a test for a client where it did say something like 3 people are viewing this product, or sorry, three people viewed this product recently, something like that. And I think the improvement to conversion rate was like 1.5% or something. So it's having a little impact, but unless you're a business doing millions and millions a year, it's just such a negligible number. You'd have been better off testing something that's going to get you a 5% increase. Right. So then you've got urgency, which is mainly, in this case, I'm talking about, buy this by 2 p.m. and we'll ship it today, or you'll receive it tomorrow, whichever. Interestingly, actually, I'm running that test right now.
Nice.
We've got it's those 2 messages actually. So one variant is, and I can't remember the exact copy we've got, but it's basically if you order within a timer, your order will be shipped today. And the other version is if you order within this timer, you can get next day delivery. It'll be delivered tomorrow. And at the moment, or last time I checked, the shipped today was performing better. So both variants were converting positively, positive performance, but it was actually the shipped today message which seemed to resonate more with people.
Wow, this is very interesting.
It's quite interesting, yeah. What else? Motivation, imagery. Imagery is really, really important. Lots of brands will just take pictures of their products on a plain background or something, stick it on there and go. They kind of look like stock images. They're okay. They show you the product, but that's it. What you want are lifestyle imagery. So if it's clothing, show me a picture with the clothing on a person. Right? Most companies do that. The best example I've seen, I think it was Next in the UK. I think it was Next. It might have been ASOS. I tried to find it the other day actually, and I couldn't find it. So they've obviously taken it down. But I thought it was quite cool. It was the final image in the gallery was actually a GIF, which was a video of the person, of the model wearing the clothes and moving around. So you kind of got to see not just how it fits on the model, but also if they're walking around, how does it kind of move on them? So I thought that was really cool. And then depending on the product. So an example I used in a presentation the other day was a company called Patch Plants. They sell mainly indoor plants to people. And they've got lots of images of the plants in a room, right? So you can get a feel for what this plant is going to look like when it's actually in your home. If it's a smaller plant, you can see what it looks like on a shelf. If it's a bigger one on the floor, that sort of thing. It gives you a bit of perspective, and also it motivates you, right? It looks nice in the pictures, and so you go, well, I want that. I want that nice looking plant in my living room because it's going to make my living room nicer. And the final one for motivation is the copy, right? If you can write good copy or hire a copywriter to do it, they'll be able to write copy which just really excites people. It tells the story about the product. It explains why you've chosen certain materials, why you've made it in a certain way, or why this product's going to have this particular benefit for people. So the just copy itself, which is seems to be so underrated in the e-commerce world, but copywriting is probably the biggest impact you'll have on people. That and imagery. Right. Because those are really the two that make you go, this product is right for me. Right. Because I can read about the benefits. I can see what it's going to look like. This is the product for me. And then you've obviously got the reviews of the business, your 30-day free returns, that sort of thing, which is then, right, this is the right business for me to buy from. So I've answered those 2 questions. And then you're just nudging people with a few of the other bits. So, the scarcity or the urgency, that's that kind of nudge, right? If the copy's rubbish, if your imagery is rubbish, if you don't have reviews, then you could say, order by whenever and we'll ship it, order in the next hour and we'll have it with you in an hour, right? Even that messaging is not going to work if you haven't sold them on the product.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Wow, we covered a lot. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we conclude?
Do research. So another big mistake I see a lot is someone in the business. It's normally someone who's a bit louder, someone who kind of can control meetings and things. I've seen a lot of those sort of people who will come into meetings and say, I want to test this, or I want to do this. I think this is going to move the needle. I think this is going to make a big change. And I'll ask them what information they've got, what research have they got to back it, and there's nothing. It's just a hunch, right? So everything should be backed by some data, by some research, run it through a scoring model. I've got an Excel spreadsheet I use to score. I rate it on I think there's about 8 different kind of metrics or whatever. And that will tell you which is the most important test to run. And then to add to that, and this is something I do, but I've never really thought about it this way. It actually came up on another of my podcast episodes. Every idea you have for a test, so every time you're saying, I've got this solution for this problem, this is what I want to test, you should then hold on to that for a bit, come up with 2 more ideas for how to solve that problem, and then you'll get the better idea.
Nice.
So it's tempting, but don't just jump into it straight away with, I've got this idea, I've got this solution, let's test it. Think about it a little bit more and think, what do people really want here? What's the information really telling me? What are some other ideas? And generally that second or third idea will be a better idea, which will then give you better results. And it can just be a case of slightly misunderstanding the information that that the research is telling you. Right. So I haven't got a particular example off the top of my head, but your initial solution might just be a very basic thing that doesn't really answer the customer's question. And then you'll come up with a better solution just by kind of sitting on it. And if you're worried about how long that's going to take, then the final thing I want to mention is have a big pipeline of ideas to test. Right, come up with like 20 ideas, chuck them all in something like Trello, and then start adding those second and third solutions to each one. And then you'll run a test, you'll end that test, and you'll be ready to go with another one because you've prioritized it. You've got those ideas. And you're working through this backlog, and then you're also going to be adding new ideas in the bottom all the time. So if you build out that pipeline of ideas to test, all with several different options for how to test them, you can just your testing process will just keep running itself. And you'll be fine. You shouldn't be in a situation where you've ended a test and you say, "Cool, this worked. Let's implement it. What are we testing next?"
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I think it's very valuable to have like a backlog of all the tests and constantly prioritize them based on the current situation and based on the current performance. What is urgent, what might make a big impact, what is kind of easy to implement. So there are different aspects and ways to prioritize which split test you're about to do, but it's very helpful and basically essential to have a backlog of split tests and not just go ahead and guessing what you should split test based on your hunch.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always more research that pops up or a test result that goes as a slightly unexpected result or consequence that then makes you think, oh, actually, well, we've got another test here. Based on the results of this test, we should do this one next because I think, but with this new angle. Because that's what this other research has told us. That's what this test has told us. So it's about constantly iterating, really.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Where can people find more about you?
So I'm the host of my own podcast. As I've mentioned a couple of times, it's the Customers Who Click podcast. So you can find it on iTunes, Spotify, all that sort of thing. The best way to contact me or just see more of my content, my advice is LinkedIn. So it's Will Laurenson on LinkedIn. I share a lot of content on there every day. I'm doing webinars. So I do a webinar every kind of 2 weeks now. And if you message me and mention the podcast or connect with me and mention the podcast, I'm happy to jump on a call with anyone who does that, and we can talk about either usability, anxiety, motivation, or any other aspect of conversion rate optimization, really.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Hi guys, this is Yaron again. Just a few more things before you take off. Number one, if you want to learn more about e-commerce and marketing, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, which is called EcomXFactor Official. Number two, check out our Facebook group, which is called EcomXFactor Marketing and E-commerce Mastermind. This is a great place to ask questions and connect with other business owners. And last but not least, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues, plus leave a review at your favorite podcast app.